Hi everyone, and welcome to the first Interesting Games video of 2023.
That's the one, yeah. So this series we look at 3 games each, games that we've been playing recently basically, games that we have something to say about for whatever reason. They could be older games, they could be brand new games, it doesn't really matter. They're just games that we feel we have something to say about really.
Lovely. And if you want to save 10% on any of these games, we do have our discount using code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg.
Nice one, yeah. So which games have we been playing recently? Well, let's find out. Okay, I'll start then. The first game I want to talk about is a game called Kamiwaza Way of the Thief. Now, this released originally on the PlayStation 2 back in 2006, and I'm not going to pretend I knew this. I looked it up this morning. I knew it had been out before, but what I didn't know was that it never left Japan.
Right.
So it was a game that I'd never really heard of, I must be honest. It's quite an interesting game, hence obviously the reason I want to talk about it today.
Good list.
Yeah, but it's one of those games where obviously it's an older game. Obviously it feels quite antiquated in some ways, but you can see that it had some really interesting ideas that it perhaps just didn't implement quite as it could have done or should have done. But you wonder whether that's because I'm playing it now or whether it was always that way back then. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah. I don't even know the premise of this. I haven't even seen a review of it or anything.
Right, so basically it's a stealth game where you play as a thief who almost like a Robin Hood type character. He was a part of a band of noble thieves, if you like, trying to rob from the rich and give to the poor. And he felt this band was starting to go against that and become quite aggressive, and he didn't want to be part of it anymore. So he left the life, and he has a young daughter. I think she's an adopted daughter who becomes sick, and he needs money to give her medicine. So he goes back into a life of thievery. Okay, and that's the basic premise. And what that equates to in gameplay terms is basically like not open world, but like almost like open area levels, set in like some sort of location, a house or something, a bit like say Hitman, something like that, where you've got an area to explore, and you basically need to steal stuff from the places and get back out. And there's usually some sort of key item that you need to take in order to finish the level. And it's stealth based, but this is kind of what I was saying, because the stealth is important, I'm not saying it isn't, but you almost get rewarded for getting seen and then pulling off a fancy trick to get away.
Right, okay.
So it's like, is it a stealth game or is it not a stealth game? Was that intentional? Was it about showing that you could escape regardless of the situation? Do you know what I mean?
It's very unusual.
It's quite strange. But you have this this loot bag that you carry atop your shoulder, and you're grabbing all this gear, and it gets progressively bigger as you go. And by the end, it looks like you've got a beach ball on your shoulder, and you're kind of walking around with this huge ball on your back, and it just looks odd. It's a very strange game. I can almost compare it to something like Deadly Premonition, where it has this kind of endearing charm to it, but it's so ridiculous at times as well,
I do, and I'm trying to think. I'm wondering if it inspired Hideo Kojima with Death Stranding, like the way you carry stuff on your back during that. It gets obscenely large.
Yeah, maybe then, maybe.
That would be a very cool little link there.
Yeah, maybe.
And it kind of sounds a bit like Tenchu as well, but without the killing. It's a weird you
can attack. You can't kill, but even then, it has you have obviously your home that you can go back to, and you attend to your daughter, and you have to give her this medicine that you have to obviously buy with the proceedings of your lifestyle. But then there's like a guild, that you can go to and get more quests, and there's a lot in this game. And I feel maybe just it was almost made in the wrong time period to meet its potential. And this is, it's called a remaster, but it's pretty much a port, Let's have it right. And it would have been interesting to see a full remake of this one, actually, to see what they could have done with it.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the interesting drinking game every time you hear the word.
It's not intentional either.
It's not intentional. It just does happen. All right, next up then, I've got a game that I bought because of the price.
Okay.
Basically. Yep. I saw it on the eShop. Well, the price and the way it looks, so, not superficial at all. It's called The Rusty Sword Vanguard Island.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like a top-down Zelda. Yep. And it looked nice, I saw these visuals and I was like, hang on, I think it was like 87p. And with the old gold coins, check the gold coins. It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
So I snapped that one up. It's only a little short thing. I think it's like under an hour long.
Yep.
But what I liked about it is you could actually do 2-player co-op. So now someone else grabs a controller and you just play through it together. It's a nice little introduction for the kids. Yeah. It's nice to be able to finish a game. The music's quite decent. It looks nice. It's a bit basic. This isn't Zelda. This doesn't have that level of complexity. It feels more like, in a nice way, someone's first game.
Right.
And I apologise if it's like their 100th game, but it does. It feels like, well, actually, I think I could do this. Let's start off with baby steps, and then maybe we'll create something bigger. And certainly the systems are in place here that they could take the same engine, take whatever they've used. I don't know if they've built it in like an RPG Maker or something.
As he was saying that, I was wondering that in my head, funny enough. But so it's almost like a proof of concept for what.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. It's got like little hidden secrets and bits and bobs, but there's nothing that's going to surprise you.
So in terms of obviously the length you just mentioned, under an hour. So is it just one big dungeon, or are there a couple of dungeons?
No, it's all set on this island, and there are a couple of dungeons in there. I mean, I haven't finished it. Right. I assumed it was a short because it says it's a short adventure.
Yeah.
So saying that it's under an hour, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know that for sure. But I think it's been designed as just a very small, bite size.
Yeah.
What would you call this? Like an action adventure?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying it, and for what? I think it's still on sale as well.
I don't think it's even on sale. I think it sells for that price.
Oh.
Because I remember I did a video, as you're watching this one now, would have been last week, which just rounded up some of the games that came out over Christmas that we'd have missed because we stopped doing the upcoming for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I did look at this one, didn't include it, but I think it was 89p as standard.
Right.
So,
wow.
But, nice
that
and
price.
Cheap. It's not bad, is it? If you want something
no-brainer.
Short and sweet to finish and put on your completed chart, I'm sure we all have those, don't we?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is and I'm sure people will let us know in the comments, the only thing that kind of, a little alarm bells, I was just worried that it was like, hopefully not like an asset flip or something, like they've taken the actual Zelda assets or anything like that. Because some of the things I was like, wow, that looks familiar.
Yeah, again, only going by screenshots of looking at it, whilst making that other video, but there were some parts, things like bats and that you think, pots.
Yes.
That looks,
so similar. But
so
I guess
maybe.
It could be in an engine, couldn't it? Like an RPG Maker or something.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. Okay. My next one is a game that's been out for a while, actually, so this is an older one, but that I've started playing again recently, and I love this game. It's World of Goo.
Yeah, I remember. I played it on mobile.
Yeah, so this came out 2008 it was, on WiiWare, and I played it back then, and obviously it came to the Switch. And it's a puzzle game, physics-based, of course, where you have to use kind of the titular goo blobs to try and get to a pipe to then complete the level.
Yeah.
And there's a set amount of these blobs you need to get into this pipe. It'll kind of suck them up as you get closer to it to complete the level. But the way you do it is you use the blobs you have, the goo blobs, to create structures to get closer to that pipe. So it could be that it's across the way over a bridge, it's a broken bridge, could be up high, and you have to build these structures, but they have to be structurally sound. You have to obviously make them using that physics engine, and the goo as you go along changes slightly. You have ones that will connect to other blobs in terms of how many legs it has, so it's more safe in terms of the structure you build. You have ones that don't do that quite so much. You have ones that are flammable, ones that aren't, ones that you can unattach and use again, whereas some as soon as you use them, that's it, they're down. And it just makes for a very unique and enjoyable puzzle game. When we talk about puzzle games, generally things like Match 3 come to mind. And if you're looking for something different, this is definitely it.
Yeah. How does it translate to the Switch controls though?
Well, it's funny you mention that because you cannot use a traditional D-pad type interface at all. You can either use the touchscreen in handheld, it's exclusively touchscreen, or you use the pointers on the or with the
like
joycon.
a mouse.
Kind of like a mouse, or it works well. You'll have to recenter it a lot,
right?
But that's quite easy because obviously you're pointing at the screen anyway. I think it's a click of the plus button and you'll recenter it. There'll be times where you're holding something and then it kind of disconnects, if you like, and you have to do it again.
Yeah.
But I never found it an issue.
No.
It's not perfect, but I never found it hampered my enjoyment of the game. And it would have used a similar system on the Wii anyway with the Wii Remote.
Yeah.
But you have that added bonus this time of being able to use the touch controls, which are very nice to use,
Lovely. Yeah, I loved it on mobile back in the day. It was a long time ago. It was one of the earliest mobile games, Decent. Yeah. All right, I'm going to revisit one now. And it's Severed Steel. Now, I did a first-person shooters list, and I really wanted this to go in the list, but they hadn't released their gyro patch that they promised was coming. And I just didn't feel, for first-person shooters on Switch, you want to have gyro. This is a brilliant game. It's basically the Matrix refined into individual levels. Slow motion, bullet time, jumping. Every time you jump, time slows down. Every time you aim, time slows down. But the aiming was so difficult without motion controls.
Right, yeah.
Now the patch has literally just dropped. I was playing it a bit yesterday and the day before, and it's what I'd hoped for. It's so much better, so much easier to control. And I highly recommend this as actually one of the best first-person shooters we've got on Switch. But you don't even need to really like first-person shooters, because in a way, each stage is a bit like a puzzle.
Okay.
You go in, you've got a set amount of enemies, and you're thinking a bit. Have you ever played Super Hot?
Yes, with the red polygonal characters.
Yeah, I've got that in VR as well. I need to let you try it.
Nice.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
But basically if that was real time, this kind of reminds me of this game, Severed Steel.
Right.
And again, I think it was a real small indie team. I've got a lot of time for them.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I, we don't know how to make games, do we?
No.
We just talk about them. We talk about what we like and don't like. But the amount of work that has to go in behind the scenes, even when we've said in the past, they should do this, and a developer has actually taken something on board. Like, it's pretty humbling, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
So this one, my biggest criticism was, it's good, but without gyro, it's not as good as it could be. And then on Twitter, the guy was like, I'm putting it in. I was like, you absolute G. And I'm not saying it's because of me, but I'm sure a few people said it as well.
Yeah.
And definitely a lot of people in the comments of that review are like, I'm not buying it because it hasn't got it. And for them to go out of their way to implement it, and I know it takes more than just flicking a switch.
Yeah.
Like, brilliant. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I mean, we were talking a minute ago, funny enough, not even preempting this, we just happened to mention it. Games like Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Big studio. No patch. Darksiders 2, it's been out on the Switch for years.
That annoys me.
Still no patch.
Yeah.
So for these smaller teams to not just patch issues in terms of performance, but to listen to feedback of what could improve the quality of life of the game and add that in is, fair play.
Yeah, no, really good. You know what? It's reminded me of back in the day when we used to play, was it Rive?
Rive.
The one where you're on the island. Is it Rive?
Oh, Rime, yes.
Rime, and it was a great game, wasn't it?
Yes, very good.
But then they gradually patched that up to a decent state.
Yes.
But they didn't need to because it had already sold loads.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
More about that.
Absolutely. That's a great game as well, by the way.
That is a great game.
Such a good game. Right, my last one then. This is pretty new out. Last month, I would guess. I can't remember the exact title, which I should have looked before I came on. I do apologise, but I think it's Atari 50, the Anniversary Collection.
Oh, okay.
Or it's a collection of words to that effect, at least, anyway. So this is a new bundle of Atari games, of course, going all the way back through their history, 1972, Pong, all the way through. But what I love about this, and I would go so far as to say this is one of the best collections of games I've ever played, compilations of games, is its presentation. Yeah. In that it has almost like an interactive timeline through the eras. Yeah. And you click on it and it will give you some information about, 1972 and Pong released, whatever. And then you'll move along and it will say, 1978, the Atari 2600 or whatever it was, my dates might not be quite right, but. And then you can come down and it will show you the joystick or the paddle controller or the something. And then you have like an interview or an advert that you can click on and it will play that. Okay. And you can do all that, or you can completely ignore it and just play the games, of course. Yeah. But I loved the time and effort and love that's gone into this collection.
Those details.
Yeah, the details, and it makes it feel worthwhile, because obviously the 2600 games in particular are, very archaic, some of them these days. Some of them still have that one more go nature, things like Asteroids, Missile Command, of course. But you've got the 2600, you've got the 5200, 7800. It's got the home computers, which I don't know a lot about for Atari. I think it's got the Atari 800 on there. Right, okay. But then it's got the Lynx, which was their handheld, of course, and the Jaguar, which was the one that really piqued my interest.
My neighbour had a Jaguar.
Yeah, my cousin had one.
Good console.
And it was kind of here and then it went, and it's never been seen again, certainly over here at least, and it was great to just play some of those games, things like Cyberwolf and Tempest 2000. It's just a lovely collection, if you've got any sort of affinity for Atari or just the history of gaming, it's lovely.
They even went to the trouble to, there was this series back in that time called the Sword Quest series. Now I might get some of the details of this a little wrong, I'm going from memory, but basically the idea was to make 4 games, and they were going to be, or they were, 3 of them were made, but they were going to be like adventure games that hadn't been seen, that sort of thing hadn't been seen at the time. You had these games, and there was an Indiana Jones game on the 2600 that were kind of the first of their kind. Okay. Where you could, walk around and had to collect items to then get past another bit in the game. Very primitive, obviously, but laid the foundations for the games we get these days, really. And these Sword Quest games, the idea was that each one was going to have clues hidden within it or hidden within the manual, and if you could solve them, you could win yourself a prize. And they were like a crown and a sword, to tie in with the theme. And there was going to be a huge giveaway at the end, huge competition finale, if you like. And as I said, only 3 of the games were made. I think there was Waterworld, Fireworld and Earthworld, something like that, and the last one was going to be Airworld, and that was never made because Atari got into financial problems. And they've actually made Airworld for this collection, which is incredible. Like the effort to have gone to. But this is quite an interesting story, because like the prizes and the winners have kind of been lost to time. No one knows where they are these days. Just a really interesting kind of footnote in Atari's history to see them have made that 4th game and finished the quadrilogies, it's incredible, really.
One thing I will say about it is it's very much a collection of Atari games. The best Atari games, not the best games on Atari. Okay. So licensed games are missing.
Right, okay.
Activision were a huge part of the 2600. There are no Activision games on here.
So like their first party releases.
Their first party releases. Yeah. So you're not going to see things like Alien vs Predator for the Jaguar, which is sad. It is sad. it's really a shame.
Yeah.
But if you can get past that, what a lovely collection.
Does that have a physical?
Yes, that's how I got it. Yeah.
All right. To shamelessly plug, we do actually have a discount, don't we, on physical things?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
On PlayAsia.
On PlayAsia. So this is available elsewhere, so you don't need to use that for this, of course. Yeah. But just to give that a mention, because it's something that obviously PlayAsia like to see some sort of return on.
Yeah, exactly right.
And if it's not used, they'll take it off us. And at the end of the day, if people don't want it, fair enough. But it's there. You can get yourself 5% off of an order if you're looking to import anything. So while we've got it, and if you want us to keep it, feel free to use it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly right. There's a new code. We'll stick it on the screen.
Nice one. Lovely.
All right. My last game then is called Mortal Shell Complete Edition. And it's funny. Our tastes are so different.
Yeah, I know.
Our tastes are the literal polar opposite. Yeah. Like I like things that look pretty and, you know, like 3D visuals, all of that stuff. But then that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
The evolution of PC was my trip into gaming.
Yeah, yeah.
So Mortal Shell Complete Edition is a Souls-like that I haven't played before, but it does have its, like they all do, it has its really nice, unique idea of essentially making you like an ethereal being that can inhabit these shells, mortal shells.
Oh, okay.
And the different shells are different warriors.
Right.
So one's got like this huge katana, one's got a big sword and shield and things like that, and they all have a different moveset.
Right.
But what's very cool is sometimes if you're fighting, rather than dying when you reach the bottom of your health bar, you get ripped out of your shell.
Right.
So the shell will freeze in place on the last hit, and you'll get ripped and like thrown against the wall.
Right.
Then it kind of goes like black and white, and if you can make it back into your shell, you can carry on the fight.
Oh, nice.
But one hit and it's over.
Right, right.
Just, little things like that. The controls are very similar if you play Dark Souls or any of those games. Like, I think you would hate this. Do you know what? Actually, that's not fair, because when you played Dark Souls, you actually smashed it.
I did all right. Yeah, I did do too bad. I don't think I died. I mean, I only played for an hour.
You played an hour.
I'm not claiming to be like a world champion, but...
You could have that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I played Dark Souls for the first time for an hour and I didn't die.
Oh, really? Is it that sort of...
it is that sort of game, I think, for someone that's never played a Souls-like.
Yeah, yeah.
So Mortal Shells, I died probably 10 times in the first hour.
Oh, wow, okay.
I got absolutely rinsed. I died on the tutorial almost. I think it was like being nice and not letting me die. It's like, no, come on. Try that again.
Have another go on.
Yeah, just one more. But overall, like, it does look very pretty as well. I don't know what they've done. It looks like there's dynamic resolution scaling. I don't know whether it's Unreal Engine. It looks like it could be. But for me, this is my kind of bread and butter, and I will be doing a full review of this one as well. I mean, hopefully that'll be out before this.
Yeah, if schedules go the way that we're anticipating, it should do. I've read about this one that it has some DLC included. Yeah,
so it's the first time I think that they've done the complete edition version of this game. Yeah. So it has all of the DLCs that were released, and that's not bad. I think it cost me about 24 quid, something like that.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Which wasn't too bad at all. And as far as people that might pick it up, performance has a few little areas that aren't quite there, but it's not terrible. Like, it's playable.
Yeah. I heard that this one is getting a physical in around about February time.
Right.
So
that's cool.
I don't know how true that is. I heard through the grapevine. So it may be something to look out for if you are interested, but a physical collector.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's basically it for the end of this video. We do try and keep it games that you might not always know, but that's not always possible. Yeah, exactly right.
So as Mark said, if you're looking to download any games, then please do feel free to use our website, SwitchUp.gg, and you can get yourself 5%. No, you can't. That's the other one. You get yourself 10% off of this one using the code SwitchUp. If you do want to import, as I said, it's there. PlayAsia, 5% with that one. Use the code, but that one is subject to us getting enough engagement. So
exactly right.
If you want to, if you want it to stay, then yeah, please do.
All the info, they've literally arrived at the market store at this point. And if you need a controller, because yours is absolutely up the spout, then get 20% off Nixie's, in the description.
Lovely jubbly.
Thanks so much for watching, and to all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya.